Okay, in my last video I showed you guys my video gaming setup. Now I'm going to show you some updates to the video gaming setup, and hopefully this time I'll talk about what I was going to talk about during the last video, which is about the setup itself, some of the drawbacks as well, and some of the sort of known issues that I've got. But I'll start off with the first major update, and that is this bad boy here. I've got an XRGB FrameMeister, also known as the XRGB Mini. This is a scaler. Shout out here to Fagan RS500. His video, he did an extensive review of this, and also he did a top 10 shootout of scalers and processors, and this one came top. So thanks to him for the advice, because I sent him a message on YouTube on his video, asking him about this, or the SLG in a box that Arcade Forge did, and he sort of replied back to say that if I wanted the best sort of quality, then I would go for this, and he was right. It makes a very, very big difference. You may not be able to tell on the video, but I have to say I'm really, really impressed, especially with my 240p or I think it's 288i consoles. It makes a massive difference in terms of quality, picture quality. At the moment, as you can see, I've got Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo running, and I've got the scan lines enabled. You may not be able to tell from here, but if I go closer, you may be able to see the scan lines. Trust it to go off as I do that. But yeah, you can see the scan lines. Really, really cleans the image up. It makes it look absolutely awesome. So that's the first main update. Second one is here I've got an LG soundbar that I've picked up just to make my the sound from my games sound a bit richer and a bit more punchier. You'll generally find with these things, as long as you pick up a reasonable one, it'll actually make the quality of the sound much better than your television speakers for the most part. Another thing I've picked up, something which I consider to be quite major, but some people will consider to be minor, is a memory card here for the N64 and a jumper pack. There's also a rumble pack, rather, as opposed to a jumper pack. I've got a couple of rumble packs. This actually came with the controller I bought. This one doesn't work for some reason. I get some errors about malfunction when I try and use it. This one does actually work, and it's cool, really love it. And that memory card is decent and works. Some of the games you do need a memory card for, because some they don't have any facility to save onto the cartridge, whereas others do, so you don't necessarily need a memory card for all games, but for the ones that do, I've got this one that covers me for that. Okay, previously I showed you my shelf of games. Now I do appreciate that for the most part you would have seen what they were from the spines that will have the titles of the games on them, but of course there were cartridges that you wouldn't know what was on them, because they didn't have end labels, and there were games that I didn't necessarily show you. So I've recently picked up, I'll also go through some of my recent acquisitions, Ridge Racer 5 on the PS2 to kind of add to my collection of Ridge Racer games. As you'll remember, I've got quite a few of the other ones. This game is fantastic. I've given it a few minutes of playing, really enjoying it so far. I'd need to fit some more time in to play that. It's really good. Now I tried to pick up Alex the Kid in Miracle World. Found it on eBay, got it. It was quite expensive, or I say got it, I paid for it. Won the auction, it was quite expensive. Unfortunately, it got lost in the post. But the eBay seller was kind enough to give me some options instead, which he then sent out to me. So, out of the options he gave me, I picked up Reggie Jackson's Baseball. I don't know how well you're going to see that, which is a really cool little baseball game. It's pretty simplistic. And Rocky for the Sega Master System as well. Now, some of you guys may have seen the Angry Video Game Nerds video review on this game. I have to say, I thought, okay, you know, how bad can it be? I picked it up, played it myself, and I got absolutely destroyed by Clubber Lang in the second fight, exactly the same way as AVG ended, despite doing my best in the training sessions beforehand. Unbelievable. So, for the Japanese Sega Saturn, I picked up a couple of new games as well. This is J-League, the official TV game. Now, I picked this up because I thought, I haven't really seen too many of the Japanese Sega Saturn football games, and I'm a bit of a football game fan, you have to excuse my foot that's in the shot there. So I thought I'd pick this up, see if it's any good. Haven't played it yet, but I do intend on playing on it, see if I can get on with it and see if I can play it. Also picked up Rayman. Now, my understanding of this is that Rayman on the Japanese Sega Saturn isn't all that common, and so it proved to be, because on eBay this was priced quite expensive. I managed to get it for half that price because I found it on Amazon. Someone was selling it for about half the cost, and I was really pleased it arrived nice and quickly, so I've got Rayman for the Saturn. Now I'm going to move on to the Super Nintendo cartridges. showed you obviously the sides of them, you wouldn't have known what they were. I've got FIFA International Soccer. This is a really, really cool version of the first ever FIFA game. Kevin Keegan's Player Manager, which I actually got with the Super Nintendo when I bought it. Kickoff 3 European Challenge. Again, this came with the Super Nintendo when I bought it, but saying that, I was a fan of the Kickoff series back in the day, so it's nice to have this anyway. Pinball Fantasies. Now, I played this on the Amiga and thought it was awesome back in the day, so when I found out it was out on Super Nintendo as well, I had to pick it up. Glad I did. It's a really cool pinball game, really like it. I love the tables. I love the catchy music, in particular on the Party Land table. Love this game. The classic Super Mario All-Stars. Again, this doesn't need any introduction. It's all the original NES Mario Brothers games, Super Mario Brothers 1, 2 and 3. And of course you get the Lost Levels, which most people by now know was the original Japanese Super Mario Brothers 2. I've got Super Star Wars, which came with my Super Nintendo. Not a big fan of this game, to be honest. I actually find it quite difficult, and I can't even beat the first stage boss. But that's probably just me being me, really. And I've got the classic Street Fighter 2. Everyone's got to have this. If you're a Super Nintendo fan, you've got to have this. It's an awesome game. Everyone knows about it. You don't need me to say any more, really, do you? Now, sat on my shelf, you would have seen this. And wondered, well, what's that? You didn't mention what that was. Well, it's the original Need for Speed for the Sony PlayStation. I like this game. I remember it well, so I thought I'd have to pick it up. Unfortunately, the guy on eBay described this as in good condition and complete. You can clearly see it's not complete. The case is beat up and is in a really bad shape. So it's not really what I would call good condition. Not really. Recently picked up International Track and Field 2. It's a great little button mashing Olympics game, or athletics game rather. Really like this. This is good fun. I had the first one back in the day and really enjoyed that. Also picked up Driver, the original Driver. Again, had this back in the day, really enjoyed it, but never actually completed it. So I thought, you know what? Time to get back on it. Also got Destruction Derby 2 for the PlayStation. This game is awesome. Again, probably needs no introduction. Pick this up because it's really cool. It's an excellent sequel to the game I'm about to show you next. And that is, of course, the original Destruction Derby. Awesome game. One of the early PlayStation games. So enjoyable to play, even now. So moving on to my N64 cartridges. I've got International Superstar Soccer 64, which is a really fun arcadey football game. I've got its successor, International Superstar Soccer 98. Again, a really, really good fun arcadey football title, that one. Monaco Racing Simulation, which is actually a recent pickup. Good game, quite difficult, but I do like it. I think it's an excellent racing simulator for the N64. You saw that I had the Ridge Racer 64 in the box. Here's just the cartridge on its own. Love this game. It's really, really good. It's an excellent version of Ridge Racer. Got Diddy Kong Racing, which is pretty fun. Played this with a friend of mine a year or so ago. It's a good game, really enjoyable. Not quite as good as Mario Kart, which I also still want to pick up for the N64, but still good nonetheless. F1 Pole Position 64, which in my opinion is one of the worst N64 games that I have ever come across. I picked this up purely and simply because I thought, okay, it's F1 Pole Position. How bad can it be? Well, it's bad. Picked up F1 World Grand Prix. This is the first version. Decent game, but the handling is very, very tricky. It takes some getting used to. F1 World Grand Prix 2. Again, it's an improvement over the first game, but the handling is still very, very tricky. It's quite difficult to play this one. Graphics are alright though, we'll say that. Had to pick up a FIFA game on the N64 just to see what it was like, so I picked up FIFA 99. It's very, very similar to the PlayStation version, but of course, the cartridge limitation means that the commentary is cut down. There's hardly any commentary at all compared to the PlayStation version. And finally, one of the best N64 games that ever came out, GoldenEye 007. Again, this is essential for me. If you've got an N64 and you love it, you've got to have this game. And back in the day, some of my friends that had N64s, they had this. We spent a lot of time playing on it. What an awesome game it was. Okay, so I'm probably going to have to leave it for another video, but I'm going to talk about some of the systems that I've got in a bit more detail because there's a story to tell behind quite a few of them. And also I'm going to go and talk about my setup because these setups are really, really cool. I absolutely love this setup I've put together here, but of course there are some things that, you know, a bit of advice would help some people if they're thinking about doing this and picking up some old systems and some old games from their past. Okay, so I'll catch you again soon.